We're unmuted. Are you ready?
I can imagine how long a flight to Hawaii takes.
It's approximately 12 hours if you go nonstop. They go from Kennedy they always go to Oahu, and we want to go to Kona.
Okay, I can start
We're going
recording
to go
now.
to Seattle first to visit my
ready?
brother, and then we'll
1
fly
second.
from there. So then it's 2 6-hour flights approximately. It's not terrible, but still
Bad
a
enough.
long way.
All right. Are we ready to get started?
We're ready.
All right, Coco, we're good to go. All right, we're going to start the meeting for Chapter 11. I'm going to begin by going over minutes from February 9th.
Make a motion to accept it.
There was a change when we go on the third page. We were discussing, recommendation was no to geothermal.
Right.
In our discussion, we talked about, we should think about looking at possible horizontal geothermal, which would get us around the concern about the aquifer, and it would also allow us to get those energy benefits. So I know that was in our discussion.
Hold on a second. There's a problem with the microphone.
Okay. Yeah. Based on our ongoing discussion of each chapter, I went through and I took the changes that we had made in the chapters and applied them here. So that's why there's one red line copy. I don't know if you, and then when I converted to PDF, the red lines went away and it was just a nice, clean version. Are you good, Coco?
Should be fine now. Sorry.
Okay, no worries. So one of the comments that came up a few times was that people thought we were missing specific zoning recommendations in the list. So what I did so that we could kind of go through them as a group is I just put all the recommendations from all the chapters in sort of like a table of contents, and we could go through and say which ones we consider zoning, or we could say, do we want all of it like a table of contents, or let the consultants go through and they can identify the ones that are zoning related. I know there was some confusion because it comes in the Chapter 3 zoning and land use title, and that was where the original summary of the zoning recommendations was clustered. And so instead of reformatting the whole document, I just added the rest of the table. And I just added a line. So where it says,
See, I have no volume.
Just move on. You don't hear?
You can't hear, Sandra?
Yeah, never mind.
Okay.
But you can hear or you can't hear?
Who's online? Make sure they can hear us.
Yeah.
Sandra, can you hear us?
Damn it.
Sandra, can you hear
Let's
us?
try someone
I
else.
think so.
Okay,
This is weird.
now she's, okay. So in the sentence above the table, I just wrote, the table below serves as a guide to navigate the comprehensive plan to locate the specific zoning, and then I added, and other recommendations related to each topic. And I just did that so everyone could see what it would look like and whether they thought it was something that we should do or if we should just leave it a zoning reference.
Personally, I do like the idea of having an index,
Yeah.
not an index under the zoning chapter.
Yeah.
I think the first,
Right.
I think the first thing should be an
Like a table
index.
of contents.
Yeah, I do like that. 'Cause
Okay.
you can kind of,
Yeah.
cruise through it and just get a general overview of, and if you keep, going down, you can pick out, the more detail. And I understand what you're talking about with this. We can kind of go through as a committee and kind of cross out what, there's obviously a lot of that has nothing to do with zoning, so.
Yeah, I mean, or we can let
Or just
the
like-
consultants do it.
Right.
because they-
It seems to me the consultants would be pretty well-versed in terms of determining what requires zoning.
Yeah, definitely.
Non-zoning.
I wouldn't do it because
I
we
agree.
don't have the nuances of.
Yeah. Okay, so then should we also leave just that one table that had the zoning recommendations under chapter 3, zoning and land
Yes.
use? Okay.
It's just, I don't see it listed here. Your recommendation seems to start with chapter 4.
Because chapter 3 was existing conditions. So chapter 3 never had, recommendations.
Understood. Okay, understood. So then you'd cluster the specific zoning ones there.
Right, from all the other chapters.
Okay,
because they
I think that would
relate.
really help people understand when they're looking at it. I agree.
All right. So then, we're going into the different recommendations. What I did was I went through all the notes that I had from our meetings on each chapter, and I read through the recommendation as it was listed, and I made any of the corrections that corresponded to the discussions we had had. So we'll go through them and see if I've missed any, if we want to reword some of these as we go through, and then we'll be able to give them off to Noah. So for chapter 4, housing, goal 1 was preserve the quality and character of the existing single-family residential zones and other residential neighborhoods. And then there was 4 different recommendations for how we can achieve that. The first was establish a graduated limit on the size of a new house for both knockdowns and new construction. The graduated limit is a sliding scale where the size of the permitted home could be tied to lot size and capped at a maximum amount. This tailored approach would help to balance growth and density while maintaining the overall character and capacity of residential areas. And then we have that it's a regulation or policy. The responsible party is the town board because it's a legislative change. And then the partners would be the planning board and the building department. And the difficulties listed as 1 star because it's a pretty simple process as far as.
I have a comment, concern, and maybe it's something too big of a discussion for us to have. But I would like to couch that first sentence in 4.1a with the idea is that because of what we know about our environment, our specific environment of being an island, and our water table and our nearshore overlay districts, we have come to the determination that when we talk about house size, we cannot allow whatever number we want to put in there. But I'd like to see that environmental caveat in the beginning, which says, we're not just arbitrarily saying 6,000 square feet. We're saying we're doing this because the wear and tear on our roads. We're doing it because we can't support this with water. We're doing this because all these reasons that we know are the truth about our island. It'd be nice to have how to put that in simple, nice, easy language. I don't know, but I'd like to see that there. That was my personal opinion.
Okay. I understand, and that makes sense, but this is also just the brief summary, and then the full description is in the chapter.
The
So,
only thing is that when we talked
Yeah.
about this earlier, we said the more specific we make this here, the more likely it may end up, won't get cut on the cutting room floor when whatever committee is playing with this. I'm just trying to remember we did say that. So that's why I'm saying this now.
That is accurate.
It's
right.
too big of a discussion, but
No, I understand that, but what I'm saying is chapter 11 is supposed to be just the reference point, so that if people want the full recommendation, they go to the chapter. It's kind of to give you a brief summary of what we're looking at.
Yeah.
So,
So if you go to the actual draft, you get a whole explanation as to why this is so important
okay.
in much more detail.
Okay, if you can, okay.
if
I
there's,
think the concern is how many people are going to go back.
A fuller explanation or fuller justification of this recommendation, please see the relevant section in the chapter. But, kind of keep it short here, so they're
I
not.
have to stop and see if the sound's working because it just stopped again.
okay,
So I'm going to try to get someone, Lauren. They said the sound is back on now. Okay.
okay. It's
I'm just
working.
thinking something like a further detailed explanation of our the environmental pressures on our island can be found in the book or something like that, or some little phrase like that. Like, I don't know. What you said was also fine.
I think if you can
Add it.
quickly, without getting into details,
Right, I
the trouble
agree.
is,
We just need some like
Right.
longer introductory phrase there.
Right.
Just like I think what you said, just due to our fragile environment or
Ecosystem.
whatever,
Yeah.
a graduated limit is being suggested. I just, something like that would be pretty simple.
I agree, but I also like Nick said, we don't want to keep rewriting the whole each section back here. But I also do agree somewhat with the theory that having page references here, you can never, if someone works in the library, like you can't re-reference people enough times to like where to find the information,
that
where
would
to
help.
get more. Because everybody goes about finding something in different ways.
so
Different
just in brackets, see pages
Yeah.
X to
Right,
Y.
however the consultants decide to reorganize this page, however it is. This is the chapter, this is the goal, maybe here's back where you find more detail on this goal to get,
Makes sense.
if people can't figure out how to use the document. It's supposed to be a living document that they keep referring back to all of the partners and responsible parties. So as we move forward with the document, it will become, part of our lifestyle, so.
So what I did was I have a note to say, make an introductory statement letting people know that there's a more comprehensive and in-depth description and discussion about the recommendations in the chapter. And then I also have at the end of the recommendation where it says, because of the nature of our environment, a graduated limit. So you read the whole thing, and then at the bottom it says reference page number, so that they can go back to the page number in the
So
chapter.
did you say description and justification?
Mhm.
Good. Yes, those both are important.
Yeah, I've said more comprehensive and in-depth descriptions about the recommendations. Descriptions and justification.
Yeah, I think justification is important because if they're challenging it, then they want to go and see, okay, well, why do they think this is so good, such needed? And this would send them back to those pages.
All right, the next one is 41B, address issue of illegal conversions. It's a lead issue. And it says illegal conversions refers to when property owners finish unfinished areas such as basements or attics that aren't counted towards permitted gross square footage. The town should evaluate zoning and permitting regulations. This could include counting portions of basements and attics as part of the allowable square footage regardless of their condition. And then it's a regulation or policy, town board's responsible party, planning board, building department, and then a 1-star difficulty. Any recommendations? And I'll just add a reference number.
Page reference, yeah.
Or 1C, strengthen limits on density in residentially zoned areas while allowing for potential increased density in business zones. So I added, the original just had strengthen limits on density in residentially zoned areas. And when we reviewed the chapter, we added while allowing for potential increased density in business zones, so that it gave a more complete picture of the recommendation. And then it reads, it is important to affirmatively state that improving water or wastewater infrastructure should not be a license for increased density in residential areas. If infrastructure is provided, there may be locations in business zones which would be appropriate for additional housing types and densities.
I'm a little concerned about that second sentence. Why are we linking it to infrastructure being provided? There are buildings now in business zones that could have an apartment above it, for example, and the existing septic system or putting in an IA system or the existing well would be just fine. By linking it to having infrastructure provided or available, that's going to limit someone coming along tomorrow saying, I want to put an apartment on top of this building, and you can't stop me because I've got an acre of land, or, it's possible right now without infrastructure. And I just don't think it should be linked to that.
Okay, let's see.
So just leave that part out. We could just say there may be locations in the business zones which be appropriate for additional housing types and densities. That's it.
Is that absolutely accurate? Like right now, if there were some hypothetical business that had like, I don't know, two rooms and upstairs was just like a second floor showroom or something, and they wanted to actually make it a bedroom and add a bathroom, wouldn't that?
It would depend on
They'd
if they
check
have the
on where
space
they
and if
could
the
put
health
IA.
department would allow them. Yeah. So
So it's
it'd
not
be-
like a guarantee?
No, it's dependent upon whether or not they can meet health department regulations. So,
And that's stipulated in the full goal and recommendation section,
yeah,
page 45.
Is that like you're concerned that people will interpret infrastructure one way?
Right. I'm afraid that
That's
it's
what I'm
going
thinking
to
too,
be
right?
a water system, or it's going to be a sewer system, and I just don't want that confusion to be in there and not and limit them.
I do know what you mean, that's what
well,
you're saying.
I think, let me read the full description that's in chapter 4 so that we can see where it came from. So chapter 4 reads, strengthen limits on density in residentially zoned areas. And then we added, while allowing for potential increased density in business zones. Existing zoning regulations regulate housing density, which depending on the district is either 1 acre per residence or 2 acres per residence. It is widely understood that building sanitary sewers will help improve water quality by managing and treating wastewater, While public sewers may ultimately be necessary in some areas and would help to address water quality, some residents have expressed a serious concern that such infrastructure would eventually lead to additional density. It's important to affirmatively state that if public sewers and water supplies are built, the residential density of existing residentially zoned areas shall be maintained. This would not include rebuilding homes in kind on existing small lots, and it does not preclude the use of cluster subdivisions where houses or buildings are grouped together, leaving larger portions of the land undeveloped as open space. While cluster subdivisions may have smaller individual lots, the overall density of the development is not significantly increased. If infrastructure is in place, it may be reasonable to consider limited locations in business zones where additional housing types and densities may be appropriate. A limited amount of housing in business areas would help support existing businesses and provide more housing opportunities on the island. Engaging in open dialogue, providing accurate information about the benefits and potential impacts, and incorporating community feedback into planning and decision-making process can help alleviate concerns and ensure that any changes in density in business areas with the addition of public sewers or water systems are implemented in a manner which benefits the community as a whole.
If people go to read that, we're good. You know,
Right.
But, you know, I'm just, you know,
I think if you're reading this section and you're upset about something and there's a page reference, it's really
Hopefully.
on you to go and
Hopefully.
read the whole thing. I mean, you may not, but we can't control what people will or won't do, but it helps if we can direct them to fuller information.
That's a good explanation that we have in the other section. Now that I
Right.
hear it.
yeah, it's good, solid. Right there.
We'll just have to make sure too, because I know some of these recommendations were changed. Just need to make sure that what is in table or chapter 11 matches word for word what the recommendation is.
Yeah.
Right. And I was trying to do that.
No. I
I'm
understand.
figuring Noah will help catch any of the other things that I might have missed if we don't catch them today. But yeah, it's sort of, it takes the key sentences from the bigger description, but I can see how it could be confusing or misleading.
So are you going to change on page 45 that recommendation to have that qualifier while allowing for potential increased density in business zones? Because right now I didn't have it marked up.
Yes, so in the version I have with the recommendations, it says while allowing for potential increased
So
density in
in
business
other words, they
zones.
have to be identical.
Yes, so they do match.
Yeah, okay.
Just an idea.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're concerned about these short summaries possibly misleading or being misinterpreted, can we just remove them? Leave the actual recommendation at face value with see page 45 for further.
In other words, pull out all the text.
Out all the text.
Right,
I mean, this
italicized.
chapter is basically just a consolidation of recommendations anyway.
right.
I mean, if it's going to possibly confuse people,
Not a bad suggestion. Because it kind of forces you to say like, well, what does this mean? And then you have to go and read the
Right.
explanation.
Good, yeah.
And then you could be either satisfied or not, but at least you understand
And
the.
you have all the information that we were thinking about, or our thought process.
So is there any downside? Like thinking on the other side.
It's
What would be
wordy.
the negative?
It'll be wordy in some cases, and some people may not dig all the way through it, but they have the opportunity
the
to.
downside is that you would have to go back and read the more detailed. Not everyone may want to or have time for that.
But like you said, I mean.
What else could you do?
Yeah.
Yeah, if I'm really upset about it.
The downside is people may just take the face value of now the recommendation and just go with that without any explanation. I mean, we can what if that.
Yeah.
It's,
I like the idea of
I'd be interested to see.
eliminating the italicized,
It eliminates the potential for.
for misunderstanding.
To see it a little bit differently from what we had in the beginning, and then people would see that as a problem.
We've seen that happen here over and over
Over
again.
and over, yeah.
People just not misunderstanding and not reading the whole
So
thing,
just keep
obviously.
the bold and the little blocks.
okay,
But even a
Yeah.
word change could end up triggering
right.
a different reading of that recommendation.
Just having the actual recommendation minimizes the opportunity for misinterpretation.
I like it.
Plus it shortens the document.
So if we keep it to, it does, yeah. If we keep it to just the bold heading, black bold, get rid of the italics, and then keep the chart that
Keep the
says,
chart.
and then add a reference number at the end.
Page number.
Page
Yes.
number.
Which
Okay,
could actually kind of
be in
go
the
into the
chart.
chart
Yeah.
somehow.
And just make sure that the bold recommendation matches precisely what's in the body of the text.
Right, right. Okay.
So all the italics are out now?
Yep.
Yeah.
I think it'll be less confusing
Yeah.
for people.
Yeah.
So we'll make that just a blanket statement, and I'll do that throughout. When I talk to Noah, I'll say, just eliminate the italics. We want to keep the bold and the chart. So then let's focus on the bold and the chart.
What might be helpful too is in the beginning, if they have like a little, how to use this chart.
Yes.
Here, this is just the bare bones recommendations, see the relevant page numbers for the description and justification.
Excuse me, can I just speak up for a moment? Some of these are definitions. So look at 4.1b. If you take out the italics in 4.1b, I don't think people know what illegal conversions are. And, I just think where it's a definition, you really should keep it in. I'd just like to add that.
Okay. What do you guys think?
I think we need to be consistent and just put, address issues of illegal conversions, see page 42.
Yeah,
There could
for a
be
more
definition
comprehensive
there.
description.
It goes back to what is the intent of this chapter?
Right.
The intent of this chapter
Is a summary.
is a summary of all of the recommendations.
And right here-
Basically an index or a glossary,
Yeah.
not a glossary, but
Yeah.
big. But if you don't know what something is,
and right here,
logically you would go back to that page and read further.
and you go back to page 44 and under address issue of illegal conversions, it says in here, the practices commonly known as illegal conversions or unpermitted renovations, and there's a
Yeah.
description in here.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a fair point for the whole document is, if there are terms, they should be defined somewhere.
And the town board, planning board, and building department, those are the people working on illegal conversions. And
Right.
so the document is for them and they know how to, that term.
Yeah, I think it makes sense.
Yeah, I think
that way.
just
Not to
consistency.
discredit that statement from the public.
No, it makes sense.
This is all like a learning process and trying to, really, bring our comp plan back up to being an active working document. But
It leaves less room for misinterpretation.
Right.
And it's so important.
Right.
Agree.
And one of the action items is to review the comprehensive plan every 5 years. So if in the review of how people are using it and working it, we find that there needs to be better ways for those responsible parties and partners and people to communicate, we'll find maybe we have to
We can always put
tweak
back
it
in.
along.
Yeah. All right. So then for 4.1D, monitor the effectiveness of the short-term rental law and make necessary code adjustments to increase enforcement ability and renter safety. So some of it's regulation policy. We have the town board, the planning board, and the building department. I don't think it's so much the planning board. It's more just the building department. So I'm going to take planning board out. And then the building department would make recommendations to the town board who would change any policy or regulation. And that's a 1-star difficulty. So then goal 4.2, provide for a broader range of year-round housing options across income levels, household size, and age groups. That's the big goal. The recommendation for 2A, consider allowing second-floor apartments above retail in business zones B and B1. And that would be regulation policy. The responsible parties, the town board, the partners would be the planning board and the building department. And we have a 2-star difficulty because it's a more complicated policy to sort out. Any recommendations on that? 4.2B, develop educational materials and resources to assist and educate homeowners in the process of developing accessory dwelling units on their property. And that's a program. It's the town board is the responsible party. The partners are the Community Housing Advisory Board, Planning Board, and Building Department. And it's a 2-star difficulty. I don't know if just the educational materials are 2-star. I feel like that's a 1-star, but I think the implementation makes it, like, getting people to put them in.
Well, but this is just the educational material.
Yeah.
So maybe it's not really too stuff.
Yeah, I'm going to put down a 1-star with that. It's just for the educational materials.
A lot of the materials have already been generated.
Yeah. All right, the next one is establish funding sources such as grants and low-interest loans to encourage homeowners to develop year-round accessory dwelling units. So that is a partnership or a program. Responsible parties, the town board. Partners would be the East End towns, New York State, financial institutions, and the Community Housing Board. And that has a 3-star difficulty because you'd have to involve a lot of parties, and whenever you're dealing with money, it's complicated.
Agreed.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Recommendation 4.2D, update the community housing plan every 5 years. It's policy, regulation, and a study. And the town board is a responsible party with the community housing board being their partner. And we have that as a 2-star difficulty. Goal 4.3, create and maintain affordable and workforce housing opportunities to nourish the diversity of age and income groups that make up Shelter Island's year-round population.
I just had a quick comment about this.
Yeah.
I realize this is what's in the original. The word nourish just seems like an odd thing.
I was thinking that as I said it. I was like, maybe support.
Promote.
Support.
The diverse, support sounds good.
Okay.
I think you nourish diversity.
I know.
Is that just an old draft of ours?
Yeah.
It's in the, it mirrors what's in the book on page 47.
Change your vote.
Yeah, I got both
That
of them
might be
open.
an
so-
artifact from like another plan template or something.
Right. Yeah, it does sound funny.
I think it sounds very positive.
Water, fertilizer,
Does?
all kinds of things.
It does, but it sounds a little, let's see. We went with support, right?
Yeah, support's good.
Just a quick question. Affordable and workforce housing. It seems almost like redundant because workforce housing we would hope be affordable.
Yes. I
Do
think
you want to
that
make the
we
definitely
wrote
want
both
to
of those
differentiate.
because some people think of them as different things.
Yeah, young
Other people
families may
think
not
of
work
them
here,
as
but
the
they
same.
can't afford to buy a house here.
Right.
And way back when, way back when, Sean had suggested we use the term attainable rather than affordable because it had a different connotation to it.
Attainable.
It was a long time.
What?
Yeah.
It
It was a long time.
a long time. Back in the dark ages.
But if we make this change, be sure we change it also on
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
other part.
I'll change it in both.
Is that good for everybody with the?
I like attainable.
I've always said that.
It takes away like the low income,
Oh, yeah,
you know.
absolutely.
And that's page 47 that would
Yeah.
need to be edited.
Have both of them changed. All right. So then the first recommendation is 4.3A. Support the creation of a Shelter Island Land Trust to assist with the acquisition and management of land for community housing. And it's a partnership program. The responsible party is the town board. The partners would be not-for-profit organizations, Suffolk County, and the Community Housing Board. And we have a 3-star difficulty because it's a larger program to establish. The next recommendation was 4.3B, proactively identify sites and build community housing in appropriate locations. It's a study, the town board, community housing board, and it's a 4-star difficulty to get it all the way through to completion. 4.3C, establish a low-interest loan program for first-time home buyers. That would be a program. The responsible party is the town board. Partners are financial institutions and the community housing board, and it's a 3-star difficulty.
There's also a Suffolk County group that helps towns with that process. I can't remember what their acronym is and what they are, but I know they came in at a meeting where we were talking about ADUs. They were there at the meeting and they have spoken to, you know, but they deal with that part of it. Maybe it is them.
Yeah, that's who they go.
But should we add that for
It's actually there.
partners?
We could add them as possible partners. Because it could be an organization like them.
Right.
Right, because they're not a financial institution, but they do work with funding, but they're not, but they
They're not a
themselves are
bank,
not a
but
bank.
yeah.
Right.
They're a nonprofit. They just,
Yeah. So I'll add them into the list.
Right, especially if we're taking out the italicized.
Right.
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 Yeah, we need to make, in
Yeah.
removing that italicized, we need to make sure that we're not removing any substance,
Right.
anything that's not found anywhere else. So just reading like that section, it does not mention CDCLI.
Financial
As an example.
institutions or nonprofits. So I'll add. Okay. So what I did was I added nonprofits such as CDCLI. So it's not like that's the only one we can use.
You're going to add that language to page 47 as well.
Um,
48, actually.
Yeah.
It's the top of the left column, probably. Collaboration with local financial institution to administer program, or, you know, somehow including not-for-profit partnerships.
would you add CDCLI then, right there too, as an example?
As for example.
Where it says collaboration with local financial institutions to administer the program, I'd say such as CDCLI as an example.
That's fine.
Okay.
Or nonprofits such as CD, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Since they're
or,
not a financial institution.
Made the change in both places. The next one is goal 4.4. Ensure that new housing construction or conversions of existing housing are sensitive to the natural environment, are of high design and build quality, and are consistent with the general scale of Shelter Island's existing housing and traditional development pattern. The first recommendation, 4.4a, is ensure development is appropriately sized in sensitive shoreline areas, the near shore overlay district.
Now, this is going to be, because we have the moratorium now, basically in the big houses, that's going to be part of that new regulations.
All right, so then we have this as a policy or a regulation. The responsible party is the town board. It's a planning board, zoning board, building department partnership, and it's a 2-star difficulty. And then the next one, 4.4b, is adopt a tree preservation law. It's a policy regulation with the town board, the planning board, highway department, building department, and I'm going to say members of trees. Yeah, it's sort of a subcommittee. Subcommittee of our conservation advisory committee and our green options and our,
Why is that one a 2-star?
should be a 1-star because it's just policy.
Just a local ordinance change?
Yeah. So I'll put that down to 1-star. Goal 4.5, identify ways to leverage development and forge public-private partnerships to achieve other community goals such as open space. So I took out the in community housing because we had taken it out in the chapter. So then recommendation 4.5a, strengthen subdivision ordinance to require land for open space. It's a policy regulation for the town board, planning board and building department, and it's a 1-star difficulty.
I don't know, how can we make, it's required now, so in a new subdivision, so how are we going to strengthen it if it's already required?
To increase the amount of set aside land for open space.
So
So
just
right now
1
it's
acre out of
10%.
5 acres, you have to do,
Right. Well, it's a percentage right now.
I
I think
know,
it's
I know.
10%. So if you increase it to 20 or 30%, then you get more land for open space.
Says it should be strengthened so the town board has more authority in the approval process to select the open space land or refuse inappropriate land offered to satisfy.
Right. Sometimes people try to give us land that they don't.
right, I know.
Excuse me. We have no sound.
No sound.
All right. And back with sound? It looks like it. All right. So Chapter 5, Economy, Goal 5.1. Improve the function, appearance, and quality of commercial areas and ensure that the mix of uses meets the needs of residents and visitors. So that's the main goal. The recommendation, 5.1A, is consider adding additional uses to the B1 business zone. And that's a policy regulation with the town board, planning board, building department, and it's a 3-star difficulty because of the amount of impact it could have.
So the current version says consider merging the B and B1 business zones. But
Right.
We changed
And
that.
We
Yeah.
changed that.
Is that one?
Because there was a fear that that would lead to unwanted industrial uses and things of that nature. So I'm just going to open Chapter 5 while we do this to make sure I have it the same in both cases. Five 1B, Heights and Bridge Street need for design guidelines. So that I kept the same as what was in the chapter. It was short.
I mean, do you want
What's the
to?
recommendation?
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, I think we need to explain that.
It's shorthand or something.
So shorthand.
So I'll read the full recommendation and we can come up with a better heading. So it says the commercial buildings in the Heights and Bridge Street have the look and feel of a historic hamlet center. With buildings that are built close to the street and shingle style facades, the core commercial area can be found along Route 114 at Pecosi's Marina and along Grand Avenue between Waverly Place and New York Avenue. The pedestrian scale is enhanced by sidewalks and commercial storefronts that are 1 or 2 stories. The orientation and setback of buildings create a street wall and enhance the village-like feel, walkability, and accessibility for pedestrians. While these 2 areas are historic hamlet centers, if properties were to be redeveloped, the zoning doesn't provide guidance to ensure new buildings are complementary to the existing urban fabric. It's recommended that design guidelines be developed and incorporated into the existing zoning to ensure that any new development or redevelopment in the area is designed in such a way that it's compatible with the existing scale and incorporates the traditional Shelter Island Hamlet Center building style. The guidelines would not be a substitute for zoning regulations. Rather, it would provide the framework for building form, streetscape, and landscape character as part of a site plan review by the planning board. They could specify architectural styles, materials, and design elements that are in keeping with the existing character. So that's kind of...
So what about just develop design guidelines for the Heights and Bridge Street?
To maintain a consistent.
Can I say something? Why does it say traditional Shelter Island Hamlet Center building style? The Heights doesn't have the same look as the center up here.
I
It's
think
two
they mean
different
like
looks.
a hamlet center, just like that area, not necessarily like the center of
Okay,
town.
all right, just want to be clear.
But what I can do is do a historic hamlet and eliminate the word center, so it's less confusing.
Those design guidelines, where are they typically found? In the zoning regulations? So if we're going to make them separate from, so they're in B zone now. If you're going to give them different design guidelines to other businesses in B zone,
Well, you would do.
would that necessitate another B zone? Or, I mean, that's more of a, I just don't know. That's more of a consultant question, I think.
Right. Well,
the
what you would do
technicalities.
is you would create design guidelines specifically for the Heights. Like you'd define the area and you'd say these guidelines apply here. It would be like an overlay for that area. So you wouldn't say that those specific design guidelines would be the same for the center of town here as they would for the Heights. So you would tailor the legislation to just work on that area.
Okay.
And then we're not recommending an architectural review board. We're not going that way. We're just saying
Right.
in our own code, we want to
Right.
put some just language. Okay.
So back to Joanne's point, develop design guidelines for the Heights and Bridge Street to maintain the historic character, something along that lines.
Mhm.
Something.
Yeah, or to be consistent with the historic, something.
So develop.
Sure the Heights will have a comment on this that should push us in the right direction.
I also wondered, yeah, whether they should be one of the partners listed.
Yeah, it should be. To maintain
Yeah, I mean, the recommendation of the historic overlay, especially for the Heights, is going to help accomplish this as well.
Yeah, I think so.
For them specifically, not Bridge Street, but.
So what I wrote was develop design guidelines for the Heights and Bridge Street to maintain the unique character of the area.
Yeah,
Perfect.
We don't want like with Sag, it's going like in Sag Harbor, you have the cutesy pie, nice little thing, and this modern thing, it's all steel and glass, just right next door, like it just doesn't belong there, you know? Even though architecturally interesting, it just doesn't appropriate. Yeah, that's fine.
I see.
We don't want to think of Sag.
And then you added the Heights as partners.
And I'll add the Heights as partners.
Freezing.
I know, is there any heat in this?
Oh, I'm so cold.
It was just me. I know. I thought it was just me. I was gonna put my jacket back on.
We're saving money, come on.
Well, I think at a certain time it shuts down to, yeah.
The new leadership, they're cutting the fat.
Save the $5, okay?
Put a jacket on.
Sweating back here. No, I'm joking.
You have all the heat from the screens.
Okay, I made the changes in all the places, and I added the Shelter Island Heights property owners.
Good.
So that's been added. Okay. So the next one is goal 5.2, support improvements that make the island more attractive for businesses and workers. And 5.2a, identify opportunities to improve and expand high-speed internet infrastructure while ensuring that services are reasonably priced. It would be a partnership with the town board, highway department, DPW, town engineer, internet service providers, cellular and satellite companies. And we have a 2 for difficulty. The next one, 5.2b, work with the Chamber of Commerce to set up a group health plan for local businesses. There will be a partnership program with the town board, Chamber of Commerce, and insurance
Really
providers.
in the purview of the plan.
Yeah, that's what I didn't think so when I read this. Like,
Yeah.
how does this fit?
I know we discussed it when we were doing this chapter, but I don't know, it just seems to me this is out of,
It feels like it needs to come from.
yes, exactly. Maybe they don't care.
What
Maybe
makes me question this is, we even say it in here, the first step would be to outreach local business to assess the needs.
Yeah.
So if this isn't, an
I think it's a
outpouring
chamber.
thing coming from them, which I don't believe it is.
bottom up. It should be businesses saying we need to get together and do something as opposed to somebody in government. This one just, I thought was
Makes sense
totally
to me.
extraneous.
All right, so then let me delete that.
Change all your numbering and lettering and
That's
everything.
fine, that's what it was for.
Okay.
That's why this is a good, final chapter to do, because it goes through both things. All right. So the next one, 5.2b, establish standards for home-based businesses in residential areas. And that's policy regulation, town board, planning board, building department. We have that as a 2-star difficulty, but I don't think it is.
I think it's a 1. Additionally, we have lists for what's allowed in each zone. Just
Right.
adding to lists or subtracting
Yeah.
something to
Okay.
Never
an easy fix.
You shouldn't subtract because the goal is to support improvements, right?
I mean, if we have like a blacksmith, we don't have blacksmiths anymore.
So-
I mean,
How do you know?
So what if someone wants to be a black?
Okay.
No,
okay, I got.
We don't have sound again. Sorry, but we don't have sound. Why is this happening?
It's very frustrating.
Yeah,
Mine has down.
it's working again if you want to keep going.
Speak fast.
Okay. Yeah, we're just gonna, we don't know exactly
mention
why
it's on
it
again.
keeps glitching,
The
but
recording have all the voices and everything?
Oh, yeah,
it should, yeah.
it's recording live. You can, if you go in live, everything's live on YouTube.
Okay. All right, so that should have the sound. All right, the next one, goal 5.3, provide the highest level of educational services and job training to island residents. Explore an apprenticeship program between the town, school, and local businesses. It would be a partnership program with the town board, Chamber of Commerce, the school district, local businesses, and nonprofit groups. And we have that as 2 stars.
I have a question about this one.
Mm-hmm.
We really aren't responsible for the town isn't responsible for the educational services.
Right.
And there's only one recommendation under this was the notion of an apprenticeship program. So could maybe the goal be reworded to just more focus on the town developing apprenticeship programs to enhance the educational experience?
Right.
That'd be good.
Or to promote involvement in local government or something?
Yep. That would work too.
All right, so how should we reword this goal? Let me see what it says in there. Promote involvement.
Say like, yeah, I mean, promote or enhance opportunities or to expand or to develop educational experiences. I don't know, but job training for island residents.
Say that again, Wendy?
Doubt that I could.
I have promote opportunities too, and then
Promote
I just went
opportunities.
blank.
To expand educational opportunities.
I thought we wanted to stay away from educational.
Or to expand involvement.
Experiential.
Experiential involvement in town government.
But it's also with businesses too. So I mean,
Yeah,
not just government.
Yeah, this is kind of like this is also like another messy situation, unfortunately. Like saying, working with the chamber to get health insurance for people.
Right.
This is like getting the chamber and the school to, why is the town involved?
In the middle of this.
In the middle of this.
Yeah, that's
We just
As
skip,
great as it is.
Because we have a really hard time finding employees. So if we can get people interested early, then
But this isn't written up as being in
true.
town government. This is written up,
Is that the objective? Because that changes the wording.
right, that's not the wording of this.
right, I know. Let me
If
see.
we were a business and we would provide, instruction and tuition assistance program or something to get employees, but what is the objective here? Is it to encourage people to
Young people to be involved in the governmental process.
to get town government jobs, or is it workforce development on a broader scale?
I think probably more workforce development on a broader scale.
couldn't we just use 5.3A as our statement? Maybe instead of get rid of explore,
Yeah.
provide an apprenticeship program or develop an apprenticeship program and that's where we want to go with
Right,
this.
yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
just make that our goal and not dilly-dally.
Okay.
Shilly-shally.
Oh, okay. You say potato.
That makes sense, John.
Yeah, because the text kind of explains what you're talking about here.
But we're cutting that, don't forget.
But the goal is written, it sounds
But I
like
mean,
we're starting to
in the
meddle in
main
this.
body.
Okay, sorry, yeah, I was looking at that.
Okay. And then we have, it's a partnership or a program with the town board, chamber of commerce, school districts, local businesses, not-for-profit groups. All right, goal 5.4, continue to support the agriculture and aquaculture industries. And we have 5.4A, which is protect legacy businesses related to agriculture and aquaculture. Be a partnership with the town board, local farmers and businesses, environmental organizations, academic institutions, government agencies, water quality improvement advisory board. We have a 2-star difficulty.
And the Baymen's Association, would they be?
Yeah. Bayman. I don't know if it's a 2-star or a 1-star. We're already doing a lot of it. What do you guys think?
It's a complicated process though, because you're going to try and get grants for this. It's not like it's just.
Yeah, all right, we'll leave it at 2 stars. Maybe.
There's a lot of pressure
It's a
to
project that
go in other directions.
involves continued coordination with a partner, so.
Okay, so we'll leave it at 2. 5.4B, consider leasing municipally owned underwater properties for aquaculture. That will be a partnership with the town board, local farmers and businesses, Suffolk County, and New York State. So that's a
Payment.
3-star.
The payment.
And Bayman.
And Cornell?
Oh, and Cornell too.
Yeah, go.
Yes.
It might be up in the 5.4A also.
Oh, yeah, they should be up there. They.
They have a Back to the Bays program is very effective. I don't know if you want to add that to it, but it's sort of a separate group of Cornell Back to the Bays,
Yeah.
education, stuff like that.
This chapter is chapter 6, transportation. So the first goal, 6.1, design complete streets that are safe for all modes, including pedestrians, bicyclists, and motorists. That's our main goal. And then recommendation is adopt a complete streets policy to ensure roadways that are designed for all users. Policy regulation, town board, its planning board, highway, DPW, town engineer, and the Shelter Island Heights would be a partner.
This is an interesting one because it's only 1-star difficulty because it's,
Yeah.
but it's just getting the policy. As you go down the list there, they get harder and harder because then you actually have to do something to make it.
I wish Jay was here. You'd have some input.
But to do this, don't you need
But-
money to do this?
Well, I was going to say, I think it's actually, it's not just a policy, it's actually like a study and it goes into how you should handle each road. So it's actually more complex than it sounds.
Okay.
Doesn't it take money to do this plan?
It does.
Significant undertaking.
Yeah.
Remember Jay said that.
Let's see. Yeah, it requires state, county, and local agencies to consider the improvements for transportation projects. So it requires multiple jurisdictions, so it should probably be
A 3.
3-star.
yeah.
Just even 6.1A should be a 3.
Yeah.
So make them all challenging since they are.
Right. The next one, 6.1B, consider an island-wide speed limit of 30 miles per hour to ensure the safety of all street users. It's policy regulation by the town board, and it would be highway, DPW, police department, town engineer. It would also have to be county and state because there's county and state roads.
It might be more complex than we even think about.
I'm going to say that should probably be 3 stars.
I think all of them 3 stars.
Because there's also things that you have to take into account. You know, if you bring it down to 30 miles per hour, then isn't it legal to have e-bikes and everything else? 35 is the cutoff. You can't have something. So there's a whole bunch of things to look at when we look at that. 6.1C, conduct a sidewalk study to determine where improved safety will enhance walking. And that's a study, a capital plan, town board, highway department, DPW, town engineer, Shelter Island Heights. And it's a 3-star difficulty because it could involve purchasing easements. It could involve a whole bunch of different things. 6.1D, pursue grant funding to develop a dedicated bicycle lane on Route 114. And that would be a grant, town board, highway department, DPW, town engineer, New York State DOT. And that's a 3-star difficulty.
Is the county involved in that too? Or
Probably. There would probably be a federal grant that we would end up going for. But if we were going to do the work, we'd need New York State and the county on board. Okay. Goal 6.2, identify ways to facilitate traffic flow and improve the efficiency of the roadway network. So 6.2a is study the impact of ferry traffic on local roads. And then it's a study with the town board as a responsible party, with highway, DPW, town engineer, ferry operators, and the ferry study group. That would probably want to get the county and the state involved too.
Probably the police department.
Yes.
So even just studying the impact is a three-part. You're going to need so many coordination of so many players. if you will.
So many resources.
Say ferry operators, you mean the ferry businesses, the corporations?
Yeah. It's supposed to be ferry.
To me, I think the people.
I think the guys on the
Captains.
boat.
You
Yeah.
say the very
Ferry
corporations.
corporations
Well, the captain is in charge.
Yes.
of the vessel.
Probably not going to help with this much.
Alright. Goal 6.3, continue to maintain and invest in roadways. 6.3a is incorporate shoulders along roadways where feasible. And that's a project with the town board, highway, DPW, town engineers, Shelter Island Heights. That has a 4-star difficulty, but I don't think it needs to. There are some roads where.
It says where feasible,
where
right?
feasible,
So
yeah. So I feel like that could be a
Lost the sound again.
We're gonna
We have microphones at the moment.
It's working now.
Yeah.
With just a quick interjection, would it be possible, since we are losing sound a lot, that after wherever we get, that you could revise this version and repost it on the, just so everybody can get caught up to speed if they missed it?
Yep.
Conversation.
And then you can watch the YouTube version of this, the whole full thing.
Would it be probably easy if because if you eliminate all of this text, you fix the changes, then at least you can even have like we got to here if we don't get through everything, whatever.
Get through everything.
Oh, we are?
That's the goal.
Okay.
Midnight, is that what we're going to?
We might. All right, 6.3b, address maintenance of vegetation along roadways. It's a policy regulation with the town board, highway department, and Shelter Island Heights.
Why is this a 3?
I wondered that too.
Because sometimes it may require, if the homeowner is not compliant, and depending on where their actual legal boundary is, some people own right up to the road, some people own, it's can be complicated. But it does seem like it should be simpler than it is.
at least for 90%.
Yeah.
Issue,
We'll
right?
make it a 2-star.
2/3.
Yeah. 6.3c, improve roadway maintenance and develop a capital plan. So capital plan, capital project, town board, highway department, DPW, town engineer. It's a 2-star difficulty because some of that relies on our CHIPS funding. Goal 6.4, continue to monitor helicopter, airplane, and seaplane traffic to ensure their presence doesn't impair quality of life on the island. 6.4a, monitor air traffic and address regulations as needed. So That is a policy regulation and kind of a study. Town Board, Waterways Management Advisory Council, and Harbor Masters would be partners in that. And we have that as a 2-star difficulty. The next one is 6.4B, develop and adopt a local waterfront revitalization program or a harbor waterways management plan, which would be a study with the Town Board, New York State, Waterways Management Advisory Council, various stakeholders, depending on the scope. That's actually probably more like a 4-star because it involves the state, the county, the DEC.
With the
Business
Bayman
owners.
is too, because it might impact their access or something like that, or. Hey,
It usually also involves Army Corps. Right, so I added that. The next one is goal 6.5, improve both on and off island transportation options. So 6.5A, explore passenger-only launch service to and from Greenport.
My understanding
take
was
that
that we
out?
took that out, that the combination of the Heights/North Ferry opposition to the plan and the discussion of where, this would have to be at the town dock on Bridge Street, and it would be a parking problem, and there just wasn't the space for something like that.
I do kind of remember that too,
Okay.
yeah.
I will delete it.
Yeah, I think that when the ferry companies read this, they assumed we meant for them to do it,
Right.
not just to explore the idea in general.
If they felt they had enough ridership to run a 4 o'clock passenger-only boat, and then a 4:30 one, and then a 5 o'clock one to meet Hampton Jitney over there, that'd be something that they would do.
Right.
They thought that was worthwhile, it was economically feasible.
I don't recall where this originated.
Thank you, BJ.
Yeah,
I think I remember this discussion though, because the timing is really bad for people that want to get that early jitney.
Early, yeah.
Or you get back late, that was the other concern. You miss the ferry. I mean,
Don't live on Shelter Island, Ken.
I think that's the
Joel moved, he
conclusion
couldn't
that
get
we
pizza. Hey, come on, we can make even the big.
The next one is explore the possibility of providing around the island jitney service. And that was a study program, capital project, the Town Board, Chamber of Commerce, Senior Services, and Shelter Island Heights. And we have that as a 4 difficulty level. But it's probably a 3.
the chamber protoed that this summer.
Did they really?
And I understand it
With
was not
insurance, right? Like getting
extremely
insurance.
successful.
It
I
didn't,
could be wrong.
I don't even think they actually got
I
it
don't think
started.
they started it.
They didn't even.
I was on the lookout for it.
Yeah, they talked about it, but it never actually got started because they wanted to use the senior bus, but we didn't have drivers, and then there was insurance. Quite
So
take
it
off.
didn't- okay.
It didn't take off, but the island was, the idea was launched. So. So for goal 6.5, where it says improve both on and off island transportation options, what if we change that to improve on island transportation options, since it's only the jitney service?
Yeah.
Goal 6.6, improve the resilience of the transportation network. Reduce stormwater runoff along roadways. That's a policy regulation capital project with the town board, highway DPW, and the town engineer. And that's a continuous process. 6.6B, address the hazard mitigation plan and search for funding. And that's a study or a grant with the town board, police department, fire department, EMS, emergency medical services advisory board, highway department, planning board, building department, New York State, and Suffolk County. Chapter 7, natural resources and water quality. Goal 7.1, ensure that all residents have ready access to drinking water that meets all applicable local, state, federal standards. All groundwater shall follow the stricter of the New York State ambient groundwater standards and guidance values or maximum contaminant level goals to the greatest extent feasible and practicable. Water quality that is better than the existing standard should be preserved to the greatest extent feasible and practicable. A lot. So goal 7.1, continue to implement, yeah?
7:45 and the camera's locked up, so I'm gonna have to turn it off. So can you make an announcement
Yes.
that they can just go, I fixed the link, so if they can just go back in 3 minutes and log back in.
Okay, so we're having technical difficulties, so we're gonna restart. So if you guys can log back in a few minutes, that would be great.
So we're stopping.
Albert Street. And then goal 7.4, educate and assist property owners on how to prevent contamination of private water wells and safeguard their drinking water quality. Goal 7.4a is to educate the public on the water quality in their area and encourage testing of private wells and installation of nitrogen reducing septic systems. Is that? Yeah, let's see.
Really a 3-star difficulty.
No, it's probably 2-star difficulty.
Probably just a partnership and establishing some stuff.
There's just so much information out there about that. A lot of people are very aware.
Yeah. 7.4b, develop an incentive program for residents to test their well water and share the data with the town for the purpose of establishing groundwater quality mapping. And that's a program with the town board, water advisory committee, water quality improvement board, building department, and the tax assessors. We have that as a 3-star difficulty. I think that's, trying to get people to want to participate. 4C, continue the grant program for IA system installation. It's a program with the town board, water advisory committee, water quality improvement advisory board, and the building department. And it's a 2-star difficulty. I took Community Preservation Fund Advisory Board off of there because they're not the ones in charge. It's the WQI portion of the CPF. So I kept it specific. 7.4d, develop wellhead protection zones for the area of recharge for the wells of each of the public water systems. Policy and regulation with the town board, planning board, highway, town engineer, building department, water advisory committee, WQI. Pursue grants and other funding opportunities for water quality improvement projects. It's grants with the town board, the WAC, which is the Water Advisory Committee, Water Quality Improvement Advisory Board, and Community Preservation Fund Advisory Board. The next one is 7.5, strengthen town regulations to protect groundwater and prevent contamination. 7.5a, implement source water protection programs that identify vulnerable areas around wells and other groundwater sources. And that would be policy and regulation by the town board. And it involves planning board, town engineer, building department, and water advisory committee.
I think that might be a little more difficult than just 2 stars because there's a lot of education that's got to go on in that process. It's what the consumers use and what you then flush or dump, and that's always a difficult thing to try and change. We like to do what we like to do, as human beings.
All right, so we'll add a star. We'll do 3 stars. 7.5b, revisit the town's IA code, policy regulation, town board, planning board, town engineer, building department, water advisory committee, water quality improvement advisory board. It's 2 stars. 7.5c, address issues and risks of underground fuel storage. It's policy, regulation. The responsible parties, the town board, with partners being planning board, highway department, DPW, and the town engineer. I think the state is also a partner.
I wondered about that because in some locations you can't sell your house with an underground tank, abandoned or not.
Right.
You're required to have it dug up. So I'm assuming, is that a town ordinance or is that a state?
I think it actually comes from the county or the state.
Yeah.
I know some places you can fill them with sand. You don't have to dig them up, but
it becomes very complicated if there's proof that it's been leaking, and the remediation is expensive. All right. Goal 7.6, continue to monitor water table.
Are we not doing this now, though? In other words, this is something new?
We are doing it. It's to encourage, so most of the time it happens when someone goes to sell a property. They'll get rid of everything before they put it on the market, so they don't want to deal with it, or if they find one. But it would be to develop some kind of incentive program to encourage people to take out ones that they know they have, to just do it before it becomes a problem.
Thank you.
Goal 7.6, continue to monitor water table levels and implement water use restrictions as indicated to support the drinking water needs of the island residents without the need for off-island water. So goal 7.6A is implement water use restrictions as indicated in the drought monitoring criteria established by the Water Advisory Committee. And that's a 1-star. It's policy, town board, New York State, and Water Advisory Committee, because we get our data from the state. 7.6B, evaluate policies which address the use of irrigation. It's policy regulation of the town board, and it's planning board, building department, water advisory committee, and water quality improvement advisory board. And we have that as a 1-star difficulty. It's updating the code.
I thought we could join that one you just read and the next one together. They're so closely related, I couldn't quite see.
Yeah.
The policy and revised law, they should be the same entity doing that, I would think.
Yeah, let me see why they're separate.
Same partners.
Yeah. At the same meeting, they can be accomplished in both. You know? I don't know.
Oh yeah, they really are the same. Because the evaluate policies which address the use of irrigation also includes revising the irrigation law to prohibit well-drawn irrigation. So what we should do is just delete the second one because it's all incorporated in the first one.
Or add it as a bullet, a 4th bullet.
Just include as a new paragraph in the first one of some sort.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, so we'll blend the two together and make it one.
Mm-hmm.
And so for the outline, I'll get rid of 7.6C and we'll leave 7.6B, which is evaluate policies. The next one is develop a groundwater model, which is a study or program with the Water Advisory Committee, South Ferry Monitoring Station, Town Engineer, Building Department, Water Quality Improvement Advisory Board. That's a
What is the South Ferry Monitoring Station?
So the USGS has a monitoring station that does temperature, it does tidal changes, it does oxygen levels.
It's just a South Ferry.
Yeah, just at the South Ferry site. So they have one in Orient, they have one in South Ferry, they have them all over Eastern Long Island to
Maybe you
help
should just
them.
add USGS to that because it makes it sound like
It's it's a
Cliff's down
South
there.
Ferry, right,
doing
holding his
stuff with
finger to
test
the,
tube
right,
and-
right.
I know he has stuff written on the wall, you know, what his great-great-grandfather did, but I don't know if we're using that data, I'm sure it can be beneficial, but I think,
And just US.
USGS.
yes. that's-
Yeah, I'll do that instead of South Ferry Monitoring Station.
Well, you could say USGS
At
monitoring station at South Ferry.
Yeah, but I think we're going to use more data than just the South
Okay.
Ferry station.
And clear from great-grandfather.
Right, right.
7.6D, identify high-volume water users to target future education funding and support. It would be a study program with the town engineer, homeowners, building department, water advisory committee, South Ferry monitoring station. Once again, I'll use USGS and water quality improvement advisory board. And we have it as 2 stars because education is,
I thought it might be 3. I feel
Yeah.
you're trying to change people's habits and behavior, and
And people
That ain't easy.
don't want to get monitored.
Yeah.
yeah.
It says the town should require every well to be monitored and share that data.
and that's
That is a 5-star task.
yeah, at least.
And rightfully so. I think it should be more promote than,
Right. So what are we thinking? 4 stars?
Well, if you change the language, make it promote rather than require,
Yeah,
then
you could leave it
then
at-
we drop it down a star.
that's something that would have to be changed in the chapter
Right.
itself as well.
Page 99
Well,
currently.
we're getting rid of the italicized, so that's not going to be.
Right.
So let's look at the chapter.
That's what it
Like,
says
for
though
example,
in the
if it's like-
chapter.
If it's like what
Right.
you guys did just recently in the center, that's different.
It's-
That's getting data, that's just not, you know.
It's word for word what's in the chapter. That's all there is. There's no more than that.
So put it 5
It's very
stars.
emphatic, it says will, like, right, maybe, like what John's saying, encourage or.
It says the town should require every will to be monitored
Yeah.
and share that data with the town engineer.
Right, so that's the last line. Or maybe the town should promote that homeowners monitor their well.
Strongly recommend.
Strongly recommend.
And add that to the take an active role.
I mean, the trouble is if one well goes bad or you're overusing water, you're going to affect your neighbors. And it's a cascading issue, and it's not going to get any better, I don't think.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very complex and nuanced issue. Depends highly on the location where you are on the island as well.
And the rate of development around you. But you're right, changing human behavior is not an easy thing to do, or our assumptions of our individual property rights,
Rights,
and
you know.
the way we've always done things.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah.
And some of this would also involve coming up with a way to collect the data and use the data. And
That's tricky.
so it's a lot. All right. So the next one, improve education about water conservation and landscaping best practices. So it's an education one. So it's programming with the town board, the water advisor, all the water groups, town engineer, green options, conservation advisory committee, and we have that at 2 stars. The next one is goal 7.7, protect surface water surrounding Shelter Island from being harmed by human activity and stormwater runoff. So 7.7a, reduce the discharge of volatile organic compounds and other contaminants into groundwater through education and town code modification. So it's policy and regulation with the town board, planning board, highway department, town engineer, water advisory committee, conservation advisory council, green options committee, and that's 2 stars.
I would
But
make
that
that
should
at
be-
least 3 stars.
I was going to say 3 stars because
It's implementing it that's going to be different.
the challenge is education and
Maybe,
outreach.
sorry, just back on 7.6 that?
Uh-huh.
With the improve education about water conservation and landscaping, do you want to put county in because fertilizer is really dictated by the county first?
Yes.
And the county just instituted the new laws on irrigation too.
Yes.
So
It's not saying change it though, right? You're talking about 6F?
right.
Yep.
That's just improving education.
Right.
Unless there's something I'm not seeing in there.
No, she's improving education, but the county does actually have some really good educational
Right.
tools that we could use.
No, it does, yeah.
So does Cornell. So I don't know.
You might just want to say other nonprofits in there because, like Cornell, the Conservancy, we'll have stuff about that.
Okay. So for goal 7.7a, reduce the discharge of volatile organic compounds and other That sound?
Did we do that?
Back on now. Are we?
Okay, we have sound. All right, so we were on 77B. Provide upland stormwater catchment detention and recharge infrastructure to better control stormwater runoff and to reduce contamination of ground and surface waters. It's a capital project with the town board, highway department, town engineer, WAC, CAC, green options, and it's a 4-star difficulty.
Might be county too in there.
Yeah, county and state depending on the road. The next one, 77C, continue to monitor the health of surface waters. And that is a partnership with the town board, Nature Conservancy, Peconic Estuary Partnership, Peconic Baykeeper, Blue Water Task Force, Cornell Cooperative, Commercial Baymen, and the Chaparral Heights. Yeah, that is 2 stars.
And Cornell's Back to the Bays group.
Yeah, we have Cornell Cooperative.
Oh, okay, sorry, I guess that'd be a clue that
Yeah. All right, the next goal we have is 7.8, which is identify, protect, and enhance the quality of fresh water and marine habitats. So 7.8A is restore tidal and freshwater wetland habitats to foster their continued existence as natural systems. And that's a policy regulation and kind of a study with some programming and implementation. And that would be the town board, Conservation Advisory Council, the Nature Conservancy, Peconic Estuary Partnership, and Cornell Cooperative Extension, and it's like a 4-star difficulty.
And the Baymen's Association would be involved in that too, I think.
Okay. The next one is 7.8B, protect and restore significant coastal fish and wildlife habitats and New York State DEC critical environmental areas, which is a policy and regulation by the town board, with the planning board, CAC, Nature Conservancy, Peconic Estuary Partnership, Cornell, Commercial Baymen, aquaculturalists. And it's a 3-star difficulty. I think it's probably more like a 4-star difficulty. And then we have a new action item that we have put into the chapter, which was 7.8C. It was review, clarify, and strengthen the town wetlands code, chapter 129, to enhance enforcement and protection of the wetlands.
Wait, just question, did you put DC in 7AB? It's actually not. Even though it says DC. Yeah, it does not.
Good call.
Good catch.
Okay, so then for the next one,
You doing spell check on this, or the consultant's going to clean all that up?
Going to clean
Yeah,
all
yeah.
the typos.
Test typos, let's put on. So the next one, 7.8C was the new action item, and that was to clarify, review, and strengthen the wetlands code. So we have that as a policy regulation with the town board, planning board, CAC, water advisory committee, and we have a 1-star difficulty. It's changing code. Goal 7.9, protect upland habitats and trees. And 7.9A is promote habitat preservation and restoration so that islanders and visitors can enjoy a healthy ecosystem as once existed on the island.
I'm a little uncomfortable with that language. As
Yeah.
once existed on the island, are we talking about 1652,
Are you talking about lima beans?
1776?
Yeah.
Before
I think we can just
Hurricane
get rid of the last
Yeah.
part.
I agree with you, John. I didn't like that.
Yeah.
that part.
Period after.
Yeah.
Ecosystem.
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 Yeah.
Okay.
That sounds great. And it's policy regulation with the town board, and then, let's see, planning board, highway, town engineer, CAC, green options.
Friends of trees.
Friends of trees. We have a 3-star difficulty.
I think Friends of Trees for the next one as well.
Also, just going back, I just had a note here, I realized for the restoring fish and wildlife habitats, you want to put deer into committee.
Oh, yeah. Well, habitat yeah, okay. So, for, which one, 7?
Oh, that was like
9A?
with the DEC, missing DEC.
Oh, DEC, okay, yes. I'm gonna take that.
Did you want to put the new subcommittee for the tree cutting thing under the last one that you were just working on? 7,
Adopt a tree
9.
preservation code,
7.9B?
79B, yes, I added
The new subcommittee group, whatever. What's their
friends
official
of trees. Well,
Tree
there's
cutting.
the tree clearing legislation subcommittee. Okay. So, yeah, I added friends of trees because they were part of that.
Oh, right.
All right, 7.9C, engage the New York State DEC and local resources to explore establishing a controlled burn program. So it's a program with the town board and the DEC, and it's a,
We skipped 7.9B.
We
Just so-
did?
Yeah, we didn't put that out.
oh, sorry.
7.9B.
Adopt a tree preservation local law for the purpose of protecting woodlands and individual historic, significant, and scenic trees important to the community.
That should be friends of trees as well.
Yes. So that was policy regulation with the town board, planning board, building department, friends of trees, and to 2-star difficulty. I don't think the planning board has anything to do with
That's
that.
only 2 stars.
For adopting a tree preservation law. Yeah.
Okay. Enforcing it would be
Would
something
be a
different.
different monster.
Okay.
That's the building department.
Okay.
All right, now I'm going to go back to 7.9C because I had jumped the gun. Engage New York State DEC and local resources to explore establishing a controlled burn program. So that's with the town board and the DEC, and it's a 4-star, or should it be a
It's also got to
5-star?
be the police department, right?
PD and fire department?
Yeah.
When we discussed this, we found it's basically impossible to, like, weather conditions and apply and all this. Is it just something?
It can be done right now, but it actually can happen. It's just, like you said, it's extremely
Really?
difficult.
Right.
There's so many hoops to jump through. Most homeowners just give up and don't pursue it. The paperwork alone is a mess.
So I'll make it.
Doesn't mean we
5.
stop trying, John.
I'll make it 5-star.
5-star, the DEC is your main partner
Yeah.
because they're in control of the whole thing. And
Right.
they pull in
Yeah.
all the right partners.
So give them a star.
Give them a 5-star rating.
Yeah, that's
for
right.
Difficulty.
And possibly cost as well.
Right.
Yeah.
So then goal 710, monitor and control nuisance species. So 710A is manage white-tailed deer populations and work with wildlife management agencies to educate the public on the impact of deer populations. So it's a partnership and program with Deer and Tick, Police Department, Nature Conservancy, Sylvester Manor,
DEC.
and DEC. And we have a 3-star difficulty.
Well, it hasn't happened yet, so I would say there's definitely a difficult.
Is he just followed?
Animal control?
I don't know. What is he? I don't
That's
know.
what it's supposed to be.
That's the police department.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, the next one, 710B, work with organizations and property owners to help assess and control ticks and prevent tick-borne disease. So that's kind of a programming and education.
Wait, on the last one, you don't have a responsible party. It might just be a typo. Thing is empty.
Yeah, good call.
Sorry.
So that would kind of fall under the police
It's the police department. They are in charge of the program.
Which one are we talking about?
For managing white-tailed deer.
7.9,
Police are in charge of that?
7.10A.
They're considered a nuisance.
Are.
And now we have their
they're so
Latin
cute.
name.
Yes. Okay,
No longer look cute to me.
catch, Julia.
Think of them as chops and burger
Deliciousness. Chili.
and chili. Oh, yeah.
All right, 710B, work with organizations and property owners to help assess and control ticks and prevent tick-borne disease. So that's a program with the town board, Deer and Tick Committee, Stony Brook University. We have 3-star
Yeah.
difficulty.
We did try to hook up with CPF on this. Didn't quite go over, but that's another potential partner for exploring, you know.
Or maybe
The
green.
new tick center that's opened up, is that under Stony Brook University or?
So,
Okay.
yeah.
There was actually an article about it recently with the one doctor from East Hampton Dempsey, there's a whole big thing on Dempsey. Cool. DEC, also on that.
Oh, yeah. Next one, 710C, develop education program prohibiting the introduction, throwing, dumping, disposing, or placing invasive species on or in town lands and waters. So it's a program, educational, the town board, Cornell Cooperative, Suffolk County, New York State DEC, CAC, and Green Options. We have a 3-star rating on that.
Just curious, the only nuisance species we mention here are the deer and the ticks.
Do we consider nuisance species invasive plants? And somebody comes back from a vacation with a little baby crocodile and decides to throw it into the waters here.
Yeah, that would count.
Well, and the rats that are
Right.
thriving in many locations.
Yeah.
Turkeys.
And gophers. Turkeys, yeah, those turkeys.
It's a significant list.
Groundhogs, they can really,
Groundhogs.
Yeah.
Basically, anything can become a nuisance, depends on.
even people.
What do you, well,
They're high in the
they're,
list.
they're,
Much harder to regulate, too.
but you're right, once you have an ecosystem that's out of balance, you have these explosion of these populations with nothing to control them, and that's part of our problem.
Bring back the coyotes.
Like, oh my God, let's talk about it.
People are already freaking out about that. Okay, so then there's the education program about dumping invasive species in town waters.
Should this be an ordinance more than an education program?
Well, there already was a state law about that.
I think there's already laws about it, but I think this is like promoting education that the law exists and don't
An
do it.
education program isn't going to prohibit anything.
No,
I know
it's
it's
not.
being done right now.
But it's definitely something that is on the books for the state and the county.
Someone dumped a plant in my pond, and I put this, it's a native plant, but it was never there, and they dumped goldfish, and I got all the goldfish out, I think. But, people do stuff like, oh, there's a pond, let's get rid of the fish.
Serious? Oh my God.
Yeah, it's terrible.
All right. Chapter 8, Parks, Open Space, and Waterways. Goal 8.1, Comprehensive Plan for Use and Protection of Waterfront and Waterways. So Goal 8.1A is develop a local waterfront revitalization plan for the protection of existing businesses and the fortification of the wetlands and coastal ecosystems.
We have this also in 6.4B. Do we want to repeat it? It's almost verbatim.
Yeah, it might be good to have some redundancy, so
Okay.
it's not missed.
Does it belong in parks and open space? It
So,
may have a park or open space in it, but
I have a comment on that as well, thanks. Yeah, I think it's more appropriate in chapter 8. I mean, if you put it in the transportation section, I don't know, to me, that goes against kind of what people were thinking in the first place. Like, this is focused on resilience and, preventing that.
Right. So it makes more sense in chapter 8. All right, so let me make a note.
It's in transportation, it leads me down
4B,
the economic, implications,
Right.
which is not the intent.
So I'm going to make a note on 6.4B.
That was a big point of contention with many people.
Right. To look at chapter 8. Okay. So that we have as a study with the town board, New York State Water Management Advisory Council. This is actually a much bigger process. This is going to be a 4 or a 5-star because it's expensive. It also involves the DEC, New York State, Army Corps.
This is like a long-term project.
And it's at least a 3-year project. So maybe it's a 5-star. All right, the next 8.1B is develop a plan for moorings, which is a program with the town board, Waterways Management Advisory Committee, the Bayman, and the Marinas, and it's a 3-star rating. It's kind of to establish what the future plan might be. Goal 8.2, continue to work with the county, other towns, and groups to maintain navigable channels to ensure safe passage, preserve vistas, sustain marine life, and enable recreational use. So goal 8.2a is continue dredging projects where needed, and that's a capital project in a partnership with the town board, highway department, waterways management advisory committee, Suffolk County, and some East End towns.
Did you want to put down the Bay Constables or the police department, because they go on the.
Oh yeah, the harbor master should be in there.
Harbor master, sorry, yeah.
Good call. 8.2b, really want to protect Real Point and Shell Beach. It's a partnership with Town Board, Army Corps of Engineers, and it's a 4 5-star rating, 1, 2, 3, 5-star rating. That's an ongoing project. 8.2c, prohibit excessive powerboat wakes with code regulations and signage buoys. And that's a policy or regulation change with the Town Board, Waterways Management Advisory Council, and 2 stars. I'm going to add the harbor masters.
Question on the Real Point and Shell Beach, did you want to include the associations that fall in that area? Like the condition of Shell Beach is on the high alert list, like our associations of the beach. I don't know, is that appropriate, or is it more just like a government kind of?
More government. Because it's, yeah. Right, the next one is 8.2d, explore acquisition of pump out boat to service the anchorages and mooring fields throughout the summer. It's a capital project with the Town Board, Highway Department, and probably Waterways Management Advisory Committee. And it's a 4-star rating.
Why is it 4? Just because of cost?
And regulation.
Okay.
There'd be a lot of regulation to how the boat's used, how it where it goes.
Harbor master, we put it?
Yeah. Yeah. 8.2e, consider limiting seaplane activity, which is a policy change with the Town Board and WMAC, the harbor masters.
When we say regulate seaplane activity.
I'm going to say I maintain, and it should be limit.
Limit, or something
Came
stronger.
down much
to
harder
consider.
on that in our discussions.
Regulate seaplane activity.
This is another repeat from transportation.
Right.
But I do think it fits in both.
Yeah. Forget consider.
Just say limit.
Limit seaplane activity.
Okay, and then for 8.2f, create a marina business zone, we eliminated that. So that's gone.
H2F is another consider word.
Yeah. We have a moratorium on docks now, right?
We do, yes.
So
So
that's
maybe
what we
review.
are considering.
Review.
Review policy for establishment of new docks. So instead of consider, we'll do review.
The whole consider in these recommendations kind of makes me crazy.
Mhm.
It's in every bullet.
Yeah. The next one is consider policies on boat lifts and boat paint. I mean, we really can't regulate,
You could review.
but
Boat paint's regulated by federal standards, so I don't know how we get involved with that.
Okay.
Education is all you can do.
Yeah, well, I don't even you buy illegal paint. You have to really work hard to, or some people make their own illegal paint,
Really?
bottom paint,
Oh
so
my
it's
God.
more toxic. But, that's, I don't know who they are. I won't divulge any names.
so what I'll change it to is review policies on boat lifts and boat paint.
Okay.
And then I'll change that in the chapter as well. And then the next one, consider expansion of programs that support aquaculture, such as restocking of shellfish.
You missed the bulkhead.
I missed both.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Consider policies on bulkheads. So
Yeah.
review.
The review captures the idea that this could be, this could change as things change.
Right.
So it's an ongoing project.
Yes. Is there anybody else that should be involved with that? Our Waste Management Advisory Council?
And the DEC. Those are really the main groups. The next one, consider expansion of programs that support aquaculture, such as restocking of shellfish. Explore expansion of programs.
Nice.
The next one, 18, identify habitat restoration measures. And that is a study with the WQI, CAC, Water Management Advisory Council.
Be Cornell as well.
Yeah.
And just a repeat from 7, 8,
Yeah.
A, B, and C, just so we're aware.
Yeah.
Should WQR be on A21 because like the renewing shellfish habitat could be a grant for us too.
I'll add
From
that.
us too.
Yep. WQI. All right. 82K. Update on an annual basis the 2022 Shoreline Access Task Force comprehensive inventory and evaluation and develop a maintenance program for all shoreline access points and town landings, whether used or fallow. Formulate a program to assure that they remain open for that purpose and upgrade them where necessary. So that's a capital project, and it's Highway Department, Waterways Management Advisory Council, and Shoreline Access Task Force.
And the Bayman, Cornell.
It's more
Cornell, they're,
I think it's more.
it's more the access.
but okay, the Bayman is definitely on the access point.
They're on the Shoreline Access Task Force.
Okay.
There's members of the
Oh,
band.
there are.
Kind of 2 recommendations in one, right?
Yeah. It's to make sure that you're reviewing it, but that there's also a maintenance program for all the locations. The next one, 82L, was a new recommendation. Develop regulations to establish setbacks for construction at the top of a bluff so that structures are not constructed on the edge, which can cause degradation. So that's a policy regulation with the town board, planning board, and CAC with a 1-star difficulty. So goal 8.3 is new. It's for open space. Continue to preserve lands with high quality natural resources, including wetlands, watersheds, shorelines, significant trees and woodland, and wildlife habitat. Those lands with recognized scenic values and smaller parcels that could provide for village greens or neighborhood pocket parks. And then 8.3A is continue to purchase open space parcels. And that's a partnership and a policy with the town board, Community Preservation Fund, Suffolk County, Peconic Land Trust, Peconic Estuary Partnership.
Is there any way we could include kettle holes in the original 8.3?
Yeah.
When we say wetlands and watersheds, that's kettle holes or water recharge areas, something like that, that makes it a little more specific for recharge.
So what I did was I did wetlands, watersheds, kettle holes, shorelines. So I just added in the list.
Thank you.
No problem.
Nice.
Yeah. Goal 8.4, which is another new one that we discussed at the last meeting, was land stewardship. Land stewardship is an important aspect of the land preservation program and involves managing town-owned land. The purpose for managing and monitoring land preserved with town funds is to ensure that the use of those lands meets the purpose for which they were preserved. And then, so for 8.4A would be continue to manage town-owned open space and nature preserves through a land stewardship program.
I have a little bit of a concern about this is that we are just turning all of our open space into parks. Why can't some of it just be wild open space and leave it be? And I know there's a real tendency with people like, let's make it all cutesy pie, make it neat, all this. increases our maintenance costs. I mean, why can't we just let it be and be a recharge area, let it be a whatever? But I don't want to, it sounds like we're just, oh, let's make it a pocket park, let's make it something else, you know, and I'm just throwing that out there. I don't know if we can change this now, but.
Well, I think it's a combination of things because some of it's the Community Preservation Fund and how they manage their different parks, and some of it is habitat restoration. They partner with the Highway Department to implement their stewardship plan. So like each one of the CPF properties has a stewardship plan, and sometimes it is to leave it a field. It also includes CAC, Green Options, and Deer and Tick.
I'll have to get in one of those committees then, I guess.
The next one is 8.5, which is active recreation. To promote a healthy and vibrant community, Shelter Island Town offers numerous recreational opportunities on its lands and waters and has acquired and manages many acres of land through its Community Preservation Fund. So goal 8.5A is to maintain existing facilities and grounds, which is capital planning. The responsible party is the highway. Partners are the town board, the highway department, the recreational department, and the school district. So 1 star. The next is to create new recreational opportunities and facilities. And that's a capital planning project with the town board, rec department, senior services, fit center, the public, consultants, and the school district. And that should be more than a 1 star. Thinking that's a 4 star to get from beginning to end.
Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of money involved in that.
Yeah, it's significant. 8.5C, ensure diverse programming, and that's a programming with the rec department, senior services, fit center, and it's a 1 star difficulty. Promote health and wellness, it's programming with the rec department, senior services, fit center. I'm also going to add social worker.
Yep.
The next chapter is chapter 9, quality of life. Goal 9.1, preserve archaeological and cultural resources in order to protect linkages between the town's history and its present life, to improve community self-understanding, to strengthen the sense of community, and protect Shelter Island's unique identity. So the first one, goal 9.1A, is to activate and staff the Historic Advisory Commission. So that's policy regulation with the town board, Historical Society, and it's a 1 star difficulty. The next is 9.1B, create a historic district zone, and that's a policy regulation change with the town board, planning board, Historic Advisory Commission, building department, and the Shelter Island Heights. That is a 3 star difficulty. 9.1C, continue to maintain and preserve historic records. I have that's a town clerk responsibility, working with the town board, local museums or organizations, and the historic society. And that's a 2 star difficulty.
Going back to 9.1B, shouldn't we also have the Historical Society in that?
We have the Historical Advisory Commission. So
It's
they
not
would,
really, we don't really have one.
right, we'd have to establish it first.
So in the meantime, we need to have the Historical Society as our resource.
Okay. Added. So 9.1D, promote the town's history and cultural resources under the charge of the Historic Advisory Commission. So the responsible party would be the Historic Advisory Commission once they were established. They would work with the Historical Society, local museums, and organizations. It's a 2 star difficulty. Goal 9.2, protect the island's small town way of life, rural character, and natural resources through coordination of land use with the land's natural and visual qualities, and protection of critical visual assets, including scenic views from roads and coastal view corridors. 9.2A is develop a program to encourage preservation easements. It's a program with the town board, the Historical Society, and the Historical Advisory Commission.
Sylvester Manor play a role in that, possibly?
They could take part in creating preservation easements, but they wouldn't be part of the group that would, go out and find property, so to speak. 9.2b, review the approach to controlling noise disturbances. Policy regulation with the town board, the police department, and the building department, 1 star. 9.2c, control excessive night sky lighting. Policy regulation with the town board, planning board, building department, and police department, another 1 star. Community resources, government and community facilities. Goal 9.3, ensure an efficient, effective, and transparent town government. 9.3a is to increase government capacity for planning and implementation, program or study, the town board, town staff, and it's a 3-star difficulty because it may require hiring people. 9.3b is improve record-keeping technologies. It's a capital project with the town board and town staff. It's a 3-star. 9.3c, utilize new tools for communication and transparency. It's a program with the town board, town staff, IT, and media department. It's a 3-star difficulty. Goal 9.4, assure that community facilities provide adequate services to the population and businesses over time in a fiscally efficient way that positively contributes to the island's character. So 9.4a is develop a facilities master plan, and that's a study in capital planning with the town board, highway, DPW, town engineer, rec department, senior center, and recycling center. And that's probably going to be a 4-star, not a 3-star. (9.4b), develop a framework to monitor and measure the progress of the comprehensive plan's implementation. So it's a program with the Comprehensive Plan Implementation Committee and the town board, and it's a 1-star difficulty.
Who's on the Comprehensive Plan Implementation Committee?
We have to set it up.
Okay, that would make sense. Could be you if you want to.
Wrong.
Theoretical question.
Radicals and free radicals just get you into trouble. All right, goal 9.5, support cultural organizations and strengthen our sense of community. Promote volunteerism to maintain strong and self-perpetuating volunteer corps of ambulance and fire department members while recognizing that there may come a day when a paid force of first responders may be necessary.
So I have a question about that. I think the day's already come, based on an article I just read. I mean, I think maybe this needs to be a little bit more urgent than this seems to imply.
Yeah.
While promoting volunteerism,
Plan,
yeah,
develop a plan for,
right.
yeah, something along that lines.
We already recognize that that day may come. I think it kind of misses the point I made last time as well, about we need to seriously develop a plan on what this look like, how it can be implemented, what the costs are.
So maybe it's despite the strong history of volunteerism, the demographic and economic factors are showing that we need to develop a plan.
Yeah, I think
plan for
You could say complementing volunteerism, we need to maintain a strong self-perpetuating core of ambulance, fire department members, and police. I think we have to just do that, not recognizing that it's going to happen.
one of my earlier recommendations is it was ensure first responder staffing is adequate to meet current and future demands.
Yeah.
Promoting volunteerism is a method of
accomplishing that.
And it also includes the police department as well, which is kind of left out of this one.
Right.
Because we need to make sure the staffing of all the first responders is adequate.
All right, so I have...
Through a lot of it,
Yeah, so it's a hot mess here. Despite a history of strong volunteerism, we need to maintain a...
What did you just say, Sean?
What did you just say?
This could be a completely separate recommendation that ties into it, but I said ensure first responder staffing is adequate to meet current and future demands.
Yeah.
First responder includes fire, EMTs, and police.
Correct.
Yeah, but,
I mean, maybe that's 9.5A.
yeah.
And 9.5B becomes continue to promote volunteerism for first responders while recognizing the need to create
Meet community's needs.
a plan to meet the community's needs.
Because I don't like the word despite before
No, I agree.
volunteer.
I didn't
It
like it
sounds
either.
very, ugh.
Nail in the coffin. So then leave the second one the same as the first, just promote volunteerism.
Yeah, it needs to be worked a little bit.
Yeah.
Because you also have run into the problem of self-perpetuating,
Yeah.
which we're kind of admitting that it's.
What if we just do promote volunteerism to maintain a volunteer core? It won't be as strong or self-perpetuating, but
And then you
It'll
could
be
add that
something.
adequately meets current and future, you could add the rest of his sentence.
I think those separate. I think that was.
that's two separate things. So first, ensure that first responder staffing is adequate to meet future demands. And then the next one is promote
Continue to promote
Continue
volunteerism.
to promote volunteerism to maintain a volunteer core of ambulance and fire department members while recognizing that there may come a day when paid force of first responders is necessary.
I think when they developed a pension plan for fire department members, that kind of helped contribute to getting more volunteers. So that's an example of what we can do. We've done that in the past. Maybe there's more we can do it that way.
Yeah.
I just wonder how many young men and women who are capable of performing these jobs are living on the island.
That's one of the challenges.
Exactly.
Well, the other challenge is like with the volunteer fire department, you just can't go and volunteer. The amount of training hours that you have to have now to be a volunteer.
And EMS too.
immense.
Right.
EMS, yes, but
Yeah. So it's a major commitment.
major, major commitment.
And the next one is 95C, expand the recreation department and library programming, but I don't think we have control of
That was in.
Library doesn't belong here.
Yeah. So I'm going to eliminate the library. I'll leave it town board, rec commission, school district, senior center. Could all be
Take out
partners. I took out the library as a responsible party. The next one, goal 9.6, improve access to goods and services to help the island be a more resilient and less dependent community. 9.6A is support the expansion of services for the senior population. And that's program, policy, regulation with the town board, senior center, rec department, library, rec commission, health institutions, nonprofits, and community organizations. Just kind of expanding the network. 3 stars for that one. 9.6B, address food insecurity. It's a partnership with nonprofits and community-based organizations along with the town board. I have a 2-star difficulty with that.
That be switched from the responsible and partners. Town board responsible, partners would be nonprofit.
It is, it's backwards. And the next one is develop a resource network. And it would be a partnership with the town social worker as the responsible party, and then the town board, IT, media departments would be, getting things up on the website, stuff like that. Be a 2-star difficulty. Goal 9.7, support and coordinate efforts to address tick-borne disease. 9.7A, continue tick-borne disease monitoring and reduction. And that would be a study or a program with the town board, the Deer and Tip Committee, Stony Brook University, and the Nature Conservancy. That is 3 stars. And DEC.
Something can be vector.
Oh, yeah.
Something can be vector.
Double check it. Okay. Chapter 10, Utilities, Sustainability, Resilience. Ensure that all Shelter Island residents have ready access to drinking water that meets all applicable local, state, and federal standards. That's kind of a redundancy from the last one.
Do we need it in 2 places? I mean, I know it's
I
important.
think because it's in both chapters, they have the goals listed in both so that it doesn't look like it's
Water was one of the major
Right.
issues that the community cares about.
And then that goal 10.1A, continue to implement the ground and surface water management plan, is the same from chapter 8, I think, the natural resources.
Did you repeat the box info as well? So it's identical to it?
Yeah, I'll make sure they're identical. 10.2, promote renewable and environmentally responsible utilities. So 10.2A is establish a group to investigate means of creating greater energy independence and resiliency for the island. And that's a study that's being done with the town board, the Green Options Committee, the Highway Department, the town engineer, LIPA, and PSE&G. That's already in the works. 10.2B, encourage the use of renewable energy sources. It's a program with the town board, Green Options, Highway, DPW, town engineer, LIPA, PSE&G. That's 3 stars because that would be actually creating a whole new program. 10.2C, evaluate the use of geothermal energy, which is a study or a program with the town board, Green Options, Water Advisory Committee, Building Department, and town engineer. Goal 10.3, take action against climate change by reducing energy consumption and promoting sustainable patterns of development. So the first recommendation for that, 10.3A, is to promote sustainable construction and design standards. And that's a policy of the town board, Green Options, the building department, the town engineer, planning department, the U.S. Green Building Council, National Association of Home Builders, and the Green Building Initiative. It's 3 stars.
Does the county get involved in any of these sorts of things?
The county has some regulations, but usually it's the state. The state is really your go-to.
Gotcha.
10.3B is continue to improve the energy efficiency of town facilities and fleets. So that's policy, regulation, and capital planning. And it's the town board with the highway department and the town engineer. And it's 4 stars. That's for things like electric charging stations, vehicles, things like that. 10.4, promote sustainable transportation alternatives. Explore the possibilities of electric vehicle charging stations at more town locations.
And when they edit this, they should take off all the plurals.
Yes. In here I did, in my red line version, I have those taken out. And that's capital planning with the town board, highway, town engineer, school district, Shelter Island Public Library, different partners who might be interested. Town department, Shelter Island Heights. Next one, 10.5, prepare for and adapt to the effects of climate change and rising sea levels. So 10.5A is develop a coastal resilience plan. And it's a study done by the town board, the CAC, Green Options, Waterways, Water Quality Improvement Advisory Board, the Heights, the town engineer, and the 2 ferry companies.
Nature Conservancy could be a partner with you on that.
Yes.
Would this be a more appropriate place for the waterfront revitalization plan? It's kind of the heart of it.
Yeah, I think it would go in, it could go in
I don't want to just repeat it in every chapter, but.
I'll make a note and I'll ask the consultants what they think.
Yeah, it might be helpful if there is a a goal that's repeated to just either color coded or have some reference so that the readers would know this is same goal is also found in chapter so and so.
so stupid. Instead of saying, okay, I click delete. Oops. Hold on 1 second.
It's been a long night.
Yeah.
You do Control Z.
And 6, assure that community facilities provide adequate services to the population and businesses over time in a fiscally efficient way that positively contributes to the island's character. So the first one is update and distribute the homeowner's manual. It's a program with the WAC and the CAC and the building department. And we have it, it's just a matter of getting it out to people. And now with the new website, we have a notification button that people can sign up for, so we can actually email it to the public.
So can I ask a question? Is the Water Advisory Committee the responsible party?
That'll be town board.
It should, yeah, actually, I think the Conservation Advisory Committee created it, but it should be the town board is the responsible party.
And it maybe needs to be broader than just the water issue, which is why you probably have it associated with the water advisory.
So I think Water Advisory Committee should be tabbed over.
Yeah.
And town board
It
is
has
supposed to
everything
be.
from
Oh, I get
water,
it.
sewage, invasive species. It's kind of all
How
encompassing.
to be a good neighbor even.
Yeah. How to be respectful of your neighbors.
Okay,
It has
gotcha.
everything. It's pretty good.
Waste, lightning.
Yeah. 10.6B, harden and improve communication systems. There'll be a partnership and a capital project with the town board and the IT media department, cellular network carriers and internet providers, and the Heights. 10.6C, continue to improve recycling center and waste management systems. And that's a capital plan project with the town board, highway, the recycling center, green options for the East End towns in Suffolk County, and that's a 5-star. And then the last one is 10.6D, consider appointing a town recycling coordinator to further increase recycling opportunities in town. That would just be a program with the town board, highway department, recycling center, and green options committee.
Would you like to consider here,
Yeah,
or
that's probably 1 star.
just 1 star?
It's kind of the appointment of an individual to help coordinate and manage.
So is that somebody just appointed within your already hired staff?
It could be, or it could be a volunteer, or it's like someone from the Green Options Committee if they wanted to take that on. I
So
don't know.
it's
So we
not
have
a
to look
paid
at it.
position?
No, I don't know. It doesn't
Doesn't
say
have
that. We haven't determined.
Because that would make it either a 1 or a 2.
Or a 4.
Yeah.
We have I think page 2
Has the
has the scale and explains. If it has high cost, then it's automatically a 4.
So let's leave it at a 2.
That's what I'm saying.
Because even if you had a coordinator, it would be a small,
Some kind of stipend.
yeah.
You want to get rid of consider and make explore.
Explore.
Yes. We shall explore. Okay. Okay. So that's all of them. I'll go through and I will make the changes we talked about, getting rid of the italics and just having the bold with the boxes and
Page references,
page references.
an explanation thing at the very top of what we did or why.
Yep. And then also, if it's repeated in multiple chapters, have a note saying also included in chapter 8, or also, you know, that way people know that they're not crazy, and yes, it is in multiple.
Either a week.
Can you add those page numbers, or are you going to have the consultant do that?
I'm gonna have the consultant do it, because when he gets all the chapters, it's gonna change the pages.
Right, so don't waste your time on the pages. of them.
Exactly. So I'm just gonna tell him that he needs to do page numbers as a reference for each one, and then if they're repeated,
We took out
note that.
a number of things.
I just wanted to make sure Meg didn't spend her time putting in.
I'm not meticulously putting in page numbers, and I'll go down that rabbit hole. All right, so it is 9 o'clock, and we have finished with chapter 11. I'm just going to see if there's any comments from the public, and then,
Real quick,
yes,
we're not going to meet for a while.
no.
You could just quickly
Okay,
get
yeah,
in
so,
front of that and outline what's
Mhm.
next.
right, so the next step is that we're going to take all of the comments and the edits that we've put together, and we're going to give them to the consultant so that they can revise the whole document from beginning to end with all the things we've considered, and then give us back a draft so that we can see that they've incorporated everything that we wanted incorporated, make sure that they didn't miss anything or that we don't come up with something new. So once he does all the edits, he'll give us a draft back. I'll send it out to everybody via email. Y'all can look at it, see if there's anything significant that you want to discuss. If it looks good, then maybe everybody can sign off on email that it looks good. Or if there's changes that we need to get together and talk about, then we'll schedule a meeting to get together and talk about them. Once we decide that the draft is something that we're all comfortable with, it reflects what we discussed, then we can all get together and say, all right, let's move it to the town board. At that point, we'll send it to the town board. When it goes to the town board, it'll also go out to the public, and you'll be done.
And the town board has a
Whole
series
class.
of.
So then the town board is going to, in work sessions, review each chapter as a board just to discuss them, see if there's anything that they want to clarify. And then they're going to go chapter by chapter by chapter, and then they're going to set public hearing. So then once the board finishes reviewing it, makes any recommendations they want to see made, then it would get set for public hearings, and that's when the public would weigh in, and they would have probably at least 2 public hearings, I would think, and then it would go for a vote by the town board to approve it. So that's the process moving forward.
It'll also be, the final version would be going to the Suffolk County Planning
Yes, it
Commission.
would go to the planning commission, and it also has to go through SECRA. So
It goes to the planning commission after the town board reviews it.
it goes to the planning, when the town board has a version that they're like, this is it. It goes to planning commission, and it also has a secret review done.
And when those come back, what happens then? It's adopted, formally adopted.
Yeah, then the board would vote to adopt it.
It would be very helpful if Coco could text us when this new version is done.
Yeah, when we get it back, we'll send
Remind
out
us
an
to
email
check our
and we'll
emails.
text you that it's in your emails.
Yeah, the text is helpful because I don't always go to the town email
All right, we'll do that.
religiously.
We will make sure to text updates.
Or at least when you get one back you want us to look at. That's, that's all.
Go to the new town website,
Town website.
notified whenever there's a new document. So I did check it out.
See? Proud of you. All right, so any comments from the public? Natasha?
Yes, Natasha Stowe. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. So first, I want to thank you very much for the red line. It was super helpful. Second, I'd like to put in a plea to continue to include those italics. I do think a lot of people go to the summary, and particularly some of the italics, as I stated earlier, contain important definitions. And even if you have a definition page, I think you should consider keeping those. Then there were 2 other things that are substantive. One is the discussion of first responders, I do not believe belongs in cultural resources. That is super important, and that has to do with safety and things like that. So I'm not sure where it goes, but it doesn't feel like it fits in cultural resources. And my last comment is about bicycle lanes, and I know I've commented on this before, but I'm just a little frustrated to see, again, the total focus on 114 when we have other roads on the island that would be probably more suitable and more feasible to put bicycle lanes. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Pam?
Hi, good evening. I just have a question on the aquacultural resources, the aquaculture leasing of the waterways. This came up in the Suffolk County Planning Commission meeting, and Susan Filipowicz said that the waters around Shelter Island are owned by the state. You can't lease the waters for aquaculture. So I don't know why that's still in this comprehensive plan. I don't know that there are any waters that the town owns that would be conducive to such an operation.
It's
I
in
don't know
there
if
as
you have
something.
any comments on that, but the state owns the waterways. We don't. Has
Okay.
this committee seen the reports from the Suffolk County Planning Commission as far as they've already been put out, the two that
Yes.
they've written up?
Yes, we have, and we reviewed them as a group.
Okay. So the other thing that they wanted you to do is make this thing a little easier to navigate through as far as the numbering was off and references back to the chapters was a little awry. So I'm hoping that, you'll get that clarified before this goes to the final draft to the town
Yeah.
board. Okay.
Yep,
Yeah, just
that's
wanted
the
to check
goal.
on those two things. Okay, great. Thank you.
Thanks, Pam.
And I appreciate everything everybody's done. I know it's been a long task, a long, hard journey and 3 years of work. And thanks very much for everything you've done.
Thank you. Anybody else? Going once? Going twice? I make a motion to adjourn.